One, let's hit this thing. All right. So we have, Brian here, who's, just a big athletic guy. And this was a home run that he hits, kind of towards left center and out in front. So this is, kind of the best part of the best part of this swing is that he was early. Let's see. I'm going to draw a line on this pitch. It's coming in probably about 5 degrees. I'm looking, I don't know if that's posy catch or not, but, you know, I'm trying to, yep. So that's the right plane. So it's a 4 degree fastball. Okay. So I'm going to bring him to the very beginning, right? You can see he holds his hands really high, right above his ear, and his bat's really flat, which coaches are like, you can't do that, right? You got to get that bat up. Well, he does get it up when he goes to stride. He has a very fast stride. Okay, so his stride doesn't take very long. If you go from his stance to his heel plant position, yes, I see you moving right now, Jim. And that would be, mechanically one of the biggest concerns that he had early in his career was his left shoulder shrug. So if you watch his left shoulder, it works up pretty quick. So instead of the left arm starting to work out, so if you want to flatten your swing, boys and girls, the more you pull this left arm out in front, this left elbow from the launch position, the longer that front shoulder will stay down. If this left arm doesn't move independently and you just turn it, it'll typically shrug with the left shoulder, which is kind of what we see there. So if we bring him to his short approach position, the short approach is when his chest starts to face his front foot. Okay? If we bring him to that position, you can see that left shoulder looks like there's tension in there, right? I mean, his shoulders are on almost a 40-degree angle, working up. Let me get rid of that real quick. Okay. But what I love to see in this position, okay, is a little bit of room between the left shoulder and the left elbow. Okay. I'm sorry, a little bit of room between the left bicep and the chest. So if he would pull his left arm out instead of smashing it against his chest, what happens is this shoulder wouldn't shrug as much. Now, he's probably been doing that for, you know, 20 years, since he was a kid. I'm sure he's had that move in there. And it's a hard move to get rid of unless you do a lot of upper body drills, like a lot of no legs drills where you're just using your hands, you're trying not to spin your shoulders, and you're really isolating your arms. Okay, so we've talked about that a lot with different players is the amount of space between, if we're looking at him, the Cubs logo and his left bicep. Okay, that when that stays smashed like that, it'll typically drop the barrel just a little bit more. But if we go back to here, I'm going to try to get that line. I got to redraw that 4 degree line on here. Okay, bear with me. Okay. Yeah, and it is. And it's even higher. This pitch is, thighs, right? This is a mid thigh fastball, right? And he gets to a good position. It's not a huge frame rate, but what we do see that's different is if I bring him to a frame, 2 frames before he makes contact, okay, where his barrel is kind of by his right thigh or glute, I'd say more glute. You can see he's still working down here. Okay, so his barrel is still working down to this line. That's something that he didn't always do. He would be on his way up back there when he started. So you can see he kind of flattens out and then he gets slightly below, his barrel gets slightly below the pitch plane. And then through contact, he's going to come back up through that plane. Okay, now this is how you launch balls high. You get a little bit underneath that pitch plane, and then you can see how steep he gets at the end. Okay, so when he goes from right after contact or right before contact to right after contact, see how steep we get right here? This is where we top a lot of balls. Okay, it has to do with our extension point. Not everybody does it. It gets that steep. But if we go up a lot there instead of around, then we get steep. And if we're a little bit early, then we'll create a lot of topspin. Well, he is a topspin guy. And I told you, he hit a lot of home runs with topspin, just because he's so strong and the pitches were up and he was swinging up maybe a little bit too much early in his career. And he would hit them hard and 390 feet, but they had topspin because he was swinging up and creating so much of that spin. That also creates nasty ground balls for infielders to hit. I remember Ted Williams saying you want really nasty topspin ground balls. Like they're hard to catch. They're hard to catch. They pick up speed through the infield. You know, the backspin ground balls that your coaches hit during BP, you know, those are easy to catch. So, you know, and that's usually when we're out in front, we'll create a little bit more of that spin. Now, if we go back, and that's his swing plane, you know, talking about his swing plane, you can see there's only one little area here where there's an opening. Okay. And he would probably be exposed here. You know, if he hit it in the middle of that little valley, he probably would have just missed it. That would have been a just missed it pop up, right? Oh man, he was right on that, but he just missed it. Well, no, not really. Like he was either a late by an inch or two, or his barrel was underneath too much. But again, we're splitting hairs and we're trying to create, you know, the most perfect swing, which is very impossible to do. But if you could take that, this is really good in here. So I'm going to draw more lines that make it confusing. So this area in here where, you know, his swing went slightly underneath about maybe the width of a ball, right? That would be where he would be exposed and just miss balls. If you can make that area a little bit smaller, like if you could take that depth, instead of it being 3 inches, you can make that 1.5 inches. Holy smokes. Like he will absolutely destroy the bottom half of the ball. Okay, so instead of just missing some of them, he's going to absolutely destroy balls to center and right center. Okay, so, you know, if you're a perfectionist, that would be something you would want to work on. I'm going to get rid of all these lines and just look at his contact position here. Like you can't get any better than this. I mean this is so good. If you look at his top hand angle, right? It's not too tight. I love 120 degrees. He's at 125 because it's a little bit further out in front. If you look at his hamstring here, his back leg angle, you know, sub 100 or less is excellent. He's at 99. I mean, everything is sharp. All of his lines are sharp. If you look at his back foot, it's like almost completely vertical here. There's not a lot of weight on it, but it also didn't move a lot, right? It only moved a couple inches. You know, it wasn't like a crazy back foot movement. His front leg straightens out. You can see the weight in his front heel here, not in his front toes. That means he's pushing back through the ground with his hamstrings and his left glute, like he's not on his toes. That's very, very good. His right thumb, look how flat that right thumb is at contact. I mean, if you were going to take a picture and put it on a wall to stare at night so that you could train your body to look like that all the time, that would be it. I mean, that is so good. You can see his eyes kind of tracking the ball out in front. That's usually our head shouldn't move back more than that. We're kind of glancing out there in front of home plate. It's the last time we're going to be able to see it. So, it is an excellent swing. He's got excellent mechanics. Yes, if we were, building Frankenstein as a hitter, we would get rid of that move right there with the shoulders. And that's just a shoulder move. Like we're turning our shoulders. And I would love to add some arms and hands into that move so that the front shoulder doesn't shrug. Okay. And why would we want to do that? Why would we want to do that? Well, it's going to flatten him out a little bit more at the end of the swing. Okay. He's pretty good here. He's pretty good at the approach, and even he's good there. It's more that very end. A lot of times, everything we do has a reaction, right? Every action has a reaction. And when that shoulder lifts up like that, at some point, his barrel's going to get to this line. So I'm going to draw that. Remember I said it was like 40 degrees? His shoulder angle. Where's his chest? Okay, maybe it's not quite that much. 35 degrees. So if I play this through, at some point, his barrel plane, see if I can get backwards a little bit here, is going to be, it's kind of a sticky video. If I just draw, I'm going to go to barrel here right before contact and draw a parallel line to that 35 degrees or so. Okay, you're going to see his barrel will probably move on that same line, or even more, it looks like. So, that would be the only thing that I would do, is try to do, like, bottom hand drills would be fantastic for him. The more this left arm moves by itself, the more independent that left arm moves, typically the less that shoulder is going to shrug throughout the swing. And that's about all I have to say about that.